It's tourney time for the Gonzaga Bulldogs and UTSA Roadrunners. It's a second chance to end the season with an exclamation point. The Women's Basketball Invitation Tournament tips off in Spokane. Welcome everybody into the kennel for what feels a little bit like a second senior night for Gonzaga. Both of these teams didn't finish the season that way they wanted, but it was an excellent year for both squads, leading their conference to championships during the regular season, but then faltering in the tournament. For Gonzaga, it was a loss in the WCC. So as we enter ourselves here tonight, John Billings alongside Shaniqua Nilles. Shaniqua, this is not the way Gonzaga wanted to finish the year. What happened last week? There's still a lot of excitement in the program to finish this year off right.
They had a great scout against Oregon State, but unfortunately, they just were a little bit casual in those final few minutes. Oregon State had some girls that were shooting really well from beyond the perimeter, but they just couldn't finish, and that seemed to be the same case for this UTSA squad as well.
Turnovers were important in that game. They'll be important again tonight. On the other side, UTSA had one of the best seasons in program history, setting a record for wins, but they also were knocked out in their first matchup in the American Athletic Conference on a tough, close game against Rice.
Yeah, lost by 4 to Rice. Talking to their SID this afternoon, he just thinks that they ran out of gas. It's a long season, 18 games, and they just were a bit flat, and Rice was able to take it to them and walk out of there with a win.
We'll talk a lot about the similarities between these two teams tonight, the way they played this year, the way they finished their season, and their two-star players, almost carbon copies. It's going to be a really exciting matchup with a not sold out, but a big crowd here in the kennel, and a fun opportunity for two teams to finish on a high.
Definitely finish on a high. If you're a Zag fan, you like that this team has another opportunity to play in the kennel. UTSA, not a stranger to fun venues to play in, so I think this is going to be a great matchup. As you said, all eyes are on the two stars here, two forwards, and Jordan Jenkins for UTSA and Yvonne Ejim for Gonzaga.
Well, let's meet the starting lineups as the crowd in the stadium is meeting them as well. For UTSA, DeLeon Negron and Sydney Love, 2 point guards essentially on the court at the same time. Maya Linton, Udo is the big inside that helps create some space for Jordan Jenkins.
Yeah, they do a great job. Played a lot of games together. This has been UTSA starting 5 for the majority of their season, led by Jordan Jenkins. But I love to see what Udo is able to do in the post as well.
On the Gonzaga side of the ball, a similar starting lineup, but one change tonight. Allie Turner running the point, Eau Claire and Dalton. Maud Hybens comes into the starting lineup alongside Ejim.
Yeah, Hybens replacing Little in the starting lineup. My guess is that's to have somebody who's capable of guarding Udo down low. I believe Jenkins and Ejims are going to face off a great battle of the forwards, as I said, but you do need another body that's going to challenge Udo on the paint.
Interesting matchups with the two coaching staffs tonight. Lisa Fortier, we saw a nice view of her talking and dressing her team in her 11th season at GU. On the flip side, UTSA led by Karen Aston in her 4th year at the helm. Both of these coaches named Conference Coaches of the Year. There's going to be an interesting matchup between the pressure of UTSA and Gonzaga with their three-point shooting. Who can get their stars into the game and get a flow early in this?
It's about keeping control of the ball, playing with poise, but also two very strong rebounding teams as well. And something's going to have to give. Somebody's going to have to win that.
UTSA, the Roadrunners win the tip. They'll go from right to left on your screen to begin in the Navy unis. And DeLeon Negron getting it off to their star player Jenkins with the bright green shoes, looking to kick it out. Finds Linton. Udo on the rotation, able to corral in the second attempt. Maud Hybens coming over, but the first basket going to the Roadrunners.
You saw Ejim there trying to come high, play in that high side. If you're going to do that against a big post player like Udo, you have to make sure your help side is there a lot sooner than that.
And immediately the Roadrunners come out with a full court press. That's not unique. They'll do it nearly the whole game. They've done it all season, and on defensive possession number 1, they get the best.
And that's one of the offensive keys for the Zags. They have to be able to handle this pressure as you see Ejim secure that defensive rebound and be strong with the ball. You don't want UTSA to just rip it out of your hands and start their offensive transition.
Dalton surveying. Switch to the top three-point shooting guard in the West Coast Conference this year. Ejim looking to post, a little high-low. Turner, her first attempt. Ejim got a touch. Jenkins able to save it.
That's a great look for Allie Turner. As you said, more than capable from beyond the perimeter. She just has to keep shooting those looks.
High pick and roll with Udo. Kick far side, Linton, and it's Cash.
And she has that type of range. I think she's more comfortable putting the ball on the deck, but she can definitely extend the defense and knock down that three as you saw there.
Linton shooting it at a 30% clip on the year. This is not a great three-point shooting team, the Roadrunners, but they got a few players. Linton and Jenkins probably the best from beyond the arc. Hybens able to muscle her way back to the left.
You saw that double down coming very quickly, so you have to make decisive moves if you're a post player.
Linton's going to try a second one, short. And a nice box out from O'Connor. Hybens in the starting lineup. And Shaniqua, that's certainly a little more offense than Little would normally give you, a little more size as well.
Yeah, she can extend, knock down threes as well. Big body down the post with great footwork as well.
She goes 2 for 2. And a nice find from Allie Turner.
The Zags, you need that from her. You need her to not hesitate on her outside shots, to also demand the ball down low.
cagey opening to this matchup. Both coaches say, look, you can't really evaluate on just film. It's not until you get into the game that you see how physical, how fast, what the other opponent really is going to feel like. And Nina De Leon Negron knocks the three down.
UTSA coming with this 1-2-1-1 full court zone. Ejim's able to break it by herself.
Wow. How many power forwards in this country can break the press themselves and have a nice poised pull-up from the free throw line?
Yeah, what a luxury to have a player like Ejim on your team.
She may be the key to the press break tonight. Here's Jenkins. The two stars matched up on each other here. Love from the corner, and Ejim's rips down the board. Dalton, the transfer from St. Mary's. Hybens had the mismatch inside, the height over Jenkins. Just couldn't hold it on the right.
Going to be really important for the Zags that if they do get a turnover or a quick shot, your defensive transition has to be really good against this UTSA team.
Udo stepped out. The miss corralled by Linton and put back in, by Sydney Love.
And again, a missed block out there by Allie Turner.
Dalton got away with a double dribble there. And Gonzaga takes advantage of it. The senior, Mott Hybens, knocks it down. The officials missed that Dalton might have had two hands on it before the pass, but Hybens wasn't apologizing.
They definitely missed that double dribble by Dalton there, and it was costly. Hybens able to knock that three down.
Another open look from the corner. This one short. Nice box out from Gonzaga. Looks like we're going to stay here on the contact underneath. Now that, did they change the call? Yeah. Dalton seems to think that's in her favor.
You see her here, a little fumble. Kicks it out to Hybens. Mount had her feet ready. Hands up. Able to shoot that down. And that call was corrected. I think the official originally pointed that it was UTSA's ball, but I think that was a rebounding foul against the runners, and it's Gonzaga's ball.
Yeah, first foul on Udo. That's important. She tends to get into foul trouble. Here's the Roadrunners on the steal. Little is back to poke it away as Ines Betancourt and Esther Little on for Gonzaga. Salembine in the corner as well. Salembine also on for GU with some fresh legs. And she shuffled the feet. UTSA 26-4 on the season, 17-1. They've already set the record for the most number of wins in program history. So every W from here on out is just extending that. Coach Karen Aston said this group, though, hasn't had a lot of postseason experience. So every step is a new one for them. Jenkins, and she knocks it down. First bucket of the night for the UTSA leading scorer.
And if there's anyone to be aware of that's in your area, it's Jenkins.
Allen able to scoop up the pass. Allie Turner gets a block. Allen just checking in for UTSA. Tamara Allen, the freshman. And it will be Roadrunner ball down on this end. Well, both coaches said we got to see how this actually feels playing against this opposition. And we'll find out how they continue on. It's 13-3, Roadrunners on top. We'll be back. Welcome back to the McCarthy Athletic Center. UTSA on top, 13-9. And Jordan Jenkins, Yvonne Ejim, it didn't take a genius to decide who was going to be the key players of this one.
Yeah, definitely. You see their numbers there. Very similar type of players. I would say Jenkins is able to extend her defense a little bit by shooting more consistently from the three-point line. But I actually think that those are going to be two players that kind of cancel each other out, and it's going to be up to the supporting cast members to step up. We've seen it with Gonzaga with Mount Hybens. Other players are going to have to get involved offensively as well. 3
points so far for Jenkins, and for Gonzaga's Ejim, 2. And here is Jenkins. Kicks to the corner. Negron forces it up. Good defense from GU as they look to get out and beat the pressure. If Gonzaga can force stops and avoid that press being set, it's going to be a big advantage. Salenbein, short.
That was a great look for Salenbein. I thought the Zags coming down in offensive transition, they did a better job of having flow going from their primary transition right into their offense. And that's a great look for Salenbein. She's capable of knocking that down.
Allen just stumbled, able to corral. Looked for a moment to Cheyenne Rowe, who's just checked into the game for the Roadrunners. And Allen will take the jumper. Sydney Love, excuse me.
UTSA runs a little bit of that dribble drive action where they're kick, attacking closeouts, just kind of crossing each other, trying to find an angle to get themselves into the paint. Love does a great job of getting to her pull-up there.
Salenbein got the step, too far out for Betancourt. She sets it up. High pick and roll. Looking for the high-low. Little can't find Salenbein, and Dalton looks like a block. Coaching staff for the Roadrunners doesn't like it, thought that was a charge, but Dalton able to earn her way to the line.
A little bit of a late closeout, I think, by the runners, and Dalton does a great job of attacking that middle gap. Feels a little bit more pressure on her left side, able to kind of absorb that contact and get the shot off to get herself to the free throw line.
Taylor Dalton good on the first for the New Zealander, grad transfer.
You're going to see UTSA here make or miss. They want to try and push the ball. They like to play fast. They have a lot of athletic length on their team. You see it right there. The Zags choose to come out in a little bit of a full court pressure.
And they earn the turnover, a little bit of their own medicine as Gonzaga applies the full court press and earns the second turnover for UTSA. Gonzaga with 5 already in the game, so both teams struggling to get into their rhythm.
Great job by Salenbein and Dalton to bait Love into that half-court trap.
Betancourt. Ivins thought about it. Dalton with the shot clock down to 10. Ivins left alone. Too strong. Dalton kept it alive. Snatched by Jenkins. Love surveys. Maya Linton. And a nice look for Udo. Check that. That was Rowe, and Dalton with the response. A little point of the finger to her teammate off the nice pass. Quickly in transition, the Roadrunners come back. Whistle on the ground. I think Betancourt's going to be called for it under the hoop.
And that's what we're talking about. Dalton makes a 3. If you're a Gonzaga fan, you're real happy, up out of your seat cheering, and they get the ball inbounded quick, and they're able to turn it into a fast break situation, which is very rare off of a made basket. So if you're the Zags, let the crowd celebrate. You need to sprint back and communicate, protect the basket on those transition opportunities for the runners.
Negron trying to look over the top. It was too much for Lowe. Ejim on the break. Steps through 2 and gets one more.
Again, this is Typically, Egypt is playing the center, the 5 for Gonzaga. She gets a steal off of an out-of-bounds play for the runner, a little Euro step, left hand, getting pushed outside of her frame. She just has such great footwork and strength. I don't think people realize the type of body control needed to finish at the rim like that.
And she's made a killing at the line all season long, as has her opposition Jenkins, both great free throw shooters, and that'll be a key stat to keep an eye on tonight. Gonzaga staying with the high press. Dalton up ahead, off the assist from Egypt.
This 1-2-2 press that the Zags are bringing on, it's to slow up that transition, but UTSA continues to get the ball into those troublesome areas right across half court in the corner of the court, and Gonzaga's using their length, getting a lot of deflections and causing turnovers right now.
Egypt got her fingertip on that one. Turner back into the game, finds Egypt inside. The swing to Dalton. Hybens. Mott Hybens has the touch. She's got 7. And Gonzaga with a 4-point lead.
And it seems to be a great adjustment by the Gonzaga coaching staff to have Hybens in that starting lineup just to get her going offensively early.
De Leon Negron surveying. The Puerto Rican kicks it out to Allen. I think her heels were on the line. We had a perfect angle for it here. Shaniqua, you pointed. You saw it immediately.
I don't have stripes on tonight, but I definitely, if I had a whistle, I probably would have blown it as well.
Refereeing is kind of like playing. It's a lot easier from our vantage point.
Definitely. I always say people need to work in the service industry or ref youth sports. Those are 2 thankless
character
positions,
builders.
I think. Yeah, definitely.
Jenkins back in along with Udo and Maya Linton for the Roadrunners. And a first look tonight for Gonzaga. Dalen is on. Egypt will try a 3. Ooh, and in and out. Tips kept alive from O'Connor, and a late whistle over the back. And Gonzaga looks like they're going to keep this pressure up. A little smaller lineup, a little bit more defensive-minded with this group is Little and Dalen provide a little more length. And with just about 30 seconds left in the first quarter of play, the first punch was from UTSA. The response has been from Gonzaga. Little switching out onto Sydney Love, who finds Udo at the post. High post. De Leon Negron, the Puerto Rican, off to Jenkins on the drive. Tried to pass it. It was blocked. 3 left on the shot clock. De Leon doesn't recognize it. And the applause from the crowd as Gonzaga gets the ever-coveted shot clock violation.
A great defensive stance there by Gonzaga. Allie Turner got switched on to Udo, and rather than have her get rolled down to the post where she's going to get buried and lose that one-on-one matchup at the block, Ejim sends her out to Jenkins, who is lifting. And as Jenkins attacks that late closeout by Turner, Ejim's just able to meet her in the paint.
4 to go. Ejim on the step back. High arcing, and nothing but net. Big run to end the first quarter of play. 12-0 for Gonzaga in the last 2 minutes and 23 seconds. And the Zags finish the first quarter off with style, and they'll take a 23-17 point lead to the second period. Gonzaga leads at 23-17 over the Roadrunners of UTSA. The pressure was the key, and that coach right there, Lisa Fortier, knows what she was doing, completely changed the game by adding pressure and getting some turnovers.
UTSA wants to push in transition and then apply pressure to you full court. So exactly what you said earlier, John, of Coach Lisa Fortier and her staff took a piece of the runners' playbook there and came out in a 1-2-2 zone to control pace, and it definitely changed how often they were able to get stops defensively.
Ejim has it poked away by Udo. That'll be the 6th turnover for Gonzaga. They had 5 midway through the first quarter and only 1 for UTSA. And then they started that press, and now UTSA has 7 turnovers and just 6 for Gonzaga. Salenbein with the rebound. Up to Turner ahead. O'Connor all the way to the baseline. Salenbein. The redshirt junior on the board.
Great job there by O'Connor to attack the baseline. Ejim and Jenkins were battling down low for position, so Jenkins wasn't able to come from behind Ejim to apply some help side. Found Salenbein in the corner for a 3. Jenkins
tried a little step through, couldn't find anybody. De Leon Negron kicks it back out, and Gonzaga leads the leading scorer of the AAC wide open from the top, and they're punished for it.
A little switch opportunity there between Ejim and Salenbein, and falls asleep a little bit, gets caught staring at the ball. You have to know where Jenkins is at. She's going to be the piece that gets them back into this game and gives them better flow offensively.
Some contact, and O'Connor walked with it. Rowe in for Udo. Similar stature. The first time you see a team, you really can see when coaches recruit to a specific type. There's the Jenkins 3.
Definitely. UTSA wants athletes. They want kids that are going to get up in you and be aggressive, and you're seeing it. I feel like that was the talking point at the quarter, was we need to pick up our defensive intensity.
Jenkins thought twice about it, lost the rhythm, and came up short. Ejim always eager to get out and run and find post position quickly. They're able to find her, and she gets the bounce. Ejim now with 9. Negron, a quick pull. And a 2, just feet on the line.
She does a great job of just handling the moment, I would say. And she does things defensively there as well. You see her hit that 3, just walks into it with confidence, able to get O'Connor uncomfortable and causes her to travel, gets her team the ball back. 6-point game, but it does feel like there's been a little bit of a momentum shift back into the runners' favor, getting some good looks offensively and finishing well, but then also getting stops and causing turnovers.
De Leon Negron, a 2-time newcomer of the year, has transferred twice in her collegiate career, was newcomer of the year and her last stop at UIW, and now newcomer of the year in the AAC.
She's going to be legit wherever she's playing. She has so much confidence and swagger about her. You see her make that great pass.
Linton tries it from the corner. And the 2 hands that rise above everybody else, Ejim. Now Gonzaga on the break. O'Connor, the sharpshooter. Too long. De Leon Negron always with her eyes up, surveying the floor. Rowe. Too strong. Turner, a good rebounder for her size. Little contact right off the ball, and Love's going to get called as she bumped into Betancourt.
A little bit of a savvy play from Betancourt. She's trying to free up Allie Turner to bring the ball up along the right sideline. Got in front of Love there and then kind of stopped short. I don't think Love had a whole lot of time to hit the brakes.
Sydney Love with her 2nd personal foul. Keep an eye on that. The way the Roadrunners like to pressure the ball, foul trouble can be an issue. Turner off the pick from Hivens. Strong screen and then pops. And Hivens too much, but Little able to grab the board. We are going to stay here. That's one of those 50-50 calls. Little went over Jenkins' back. You see from her look, she thought that maybe that was an over the back call. Instead, she gets the whistle.
I think what gets her in trouble is almost holding Little. I thought Little did a good job of going vertical and just using her length, trying to tip it towards her right hand. But great effort on the boards there for the Zags.
Dalton off the screen. Little takes it and earns another call. Linton's going to get that whistle.
Even her coach was kind of like, yeah, you just
you ran over her. What do you want me to say?
You can't blow her up.
Right. When you look at the stats on the year, Shaniqua, the UTSA has 515 fouls. Their opponents, 532. For a team that is winning that many games, usually that's lopsided the other way. They're dominating the team. Their opponent is having to foul them. They're actually fouling more than the teams they're beating. So they're going to play this physical style, and foul trouble is something they've kind of learned to deal with. Last touch off, I think, De Leon Negron will stay here. Hyben's got another good look.
Those are great looks. You can't get shy from the three-point look. You have to shoot the ones that you're open. And I think you're right. If your identity is to be physical and aggressive, the game almost goes in your favor because you're taking people out of their comfort zone and making them play at a pace they're not typically used to.
Turner from deep, 3 steps beyond the line twice in a row, and neither are able to fall. The record on the line for Allie Turner tonight. If she gets a 3, she will tie Brendan Maxwell's all-time single-season record for threes at GU. Well, that was deflected. It's going to stay here. Officials looking around, I think on the far side. Yep, the right call made. Our officials tonight, Steve Belknap, Michael Ann Earle, and Simona Petront. And Ejim checks back into the game. Took just a quick breather. Likely one of the next stoppages is going to lead to a timeout. So usually coaches trying to get that extended time off for their stars. I think the next couple minutes of this game too important. 48 brings back in her star. Ball skipped far side. Hammonds into the corner, finds Allen and just missed the mark. Little able to corral. Betancourt saw a seam, got there, but didn't bring the ball with her.
Those are the ones that are a little bit frustrating because you are able to get UTSA late into their shot clock, kind of a rush 3, secure the rebound, and then turning it over on the other end. Yes, it gives you an opportunity to set up your press, but you want to take advantages of those stops that you're getting defensively.
So far, Gonzaga doing an excellent job on Jordan Jenkins, just 6 points. And that was right by the half-court line. Both feet of the ball and the ball have to be across before it would be a violation to go back, and I think that might have just been safe.
I think in live time, fans get a little bit, they're cheering for their squad, obviously, but you're right, it is 3 points of contact. So it looked a little bit funky, but I do think that she was safe.
Udo's going to check back in for Lowe. Those two kind of like line changes. They're just going back in and out every 3 or 4 minutes. Coach Aston looking for fresh legs. Too much contact on the action underneath. Interesting coaching decision. Gonzaga is putting their star, Ejim, on Jenkins, the opposing star. But when it goes the other way, they're kind of resting Jenkins and keeping her away from Ejim and throwing different defenders at the Gonzaga star.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which game strategy ends up winning out.
Jenkins on the turnaround. Touched last by Udo, but Dalton comes away with it. Head up, looking for Ejim. And they find Ejim. Contact, the bucket.
You saw Dalton bringing the ball up, and eyes were wide looking at Ejim like, I see you, I see you. That's a great run. I think it's important to reward your forwards when they get out in transition like that. And the ball was able to find her eventually, and she was able to finish with that contact.
She runs the floor as good as any big in the country, and it's not always just for a layup. It's for getting that position.
Right.
And Gonzaga knows where to find her. Errant pass corralled far side for Parker. San Antonio native finds De Leon Negron. Cleared by Betancourt. She's got the lane again. This time pulls it back to Little. International line out there for Gonzaga. Salenbein, the only American on the floor for GU. And the Canadian, Ejim, going back to the line. We'll take a breather while they take a breather. Gonzaga up by 8 in the WBIT. Welcome back to the first round of the WBIT as Gonzaga hosting UTSA, and it's been runs back and forth. Gonzaga coming into this game, with teams that they know and programs they're experienced with. UTSA is not one of those. They're led by Karen Aston in her 4th season at the helm, and spent 8 years prior to that at the University of Texas, where her teams are always good rebounders. They're always good defenders, and she's taken this program from not very competitive to the top in their league.
Your teams are made up of what they take from their coach, and she's somebody who is tough, she's intense, she's passionate, and she recruits kids that mold into her program really, really well, and she's done a great job of bringing this group into this type of season. They've earned every win. They've had to battle, had that loss to Rice, but they are game. They play at a very fun pace.
Gonzaga sticking with the pressure, and even though they don't get the steal, Roadrunners only have 15 seconds left to get in their offense here.
And that's a part of slowing down a team that wants to get out and run and play at a very fast pace.
Under 10 now on the clock. De Leon Negron and Udo interchange. A nice touch from the big power forward.
Fakes that little handoff there and able to turn and get herself into her pull-up.
Salenbein left alone off the Ejim screen. Just off to the right, careens to De Leon Negron. Seems to always be around the ball. Jenkins left alone. Will she get the roll? Not kind. And again, ball finds De Leon Negron. She's able to find Udo. Muscles her way in. Too strong on the shot. Gonzaga able to clear it, and they've got numbers up ahead for Allie Turner. Only 3-point attempts for Turner tonight have been 3 or 4 steps off the 3-point line. Roadrunners doing an excellent job closing her space. Ejim looking for Hybens, too strong on the pass. Gonzaga with 10 turnovers now. Seems like every time we look at that stat, it's leapfrogged one team leading or trailing in the turnover numbers.
When you're playing against a team like UTSA that is so good at forcing turnovers, you have to be disciplined offensively to limit your unforced turnovers, and that was an unforced turnover. You had a mismatch with Hybens inside, and instead of allowing her to get position and just feeding it to her where she can go to work on De Leon Negron, you throw it out of bounds, which is just really unfortunate.
Jenkins surveying down into Udo. And a touch foul will give Udo a chance to add to it at the line.
Great job there. You see Udo just working for position, handles that contact against her forearm, able to finish there.
And a little something extra afterwards.
A little something extra. She was celebrating. She's excited. It's March. So
I love it.
There's a different level of intensity that is needed. And I know that there's a lot of eyes on another tournament, just down the road at the Spokane Arena, but these are the next 32 best teams that are playing in this tournament. And some of them are probably feel a little bit jaded that they're here. So nobody wants their season to be over. So I don't know. I was a player that played with a little bit of emotion, a little bit of passion. So I'm here for it. I don't think it got out of control.
Well, and she's trying to encourage her team to get back in and get a little swagger back on the road. Us versus the everyone mentality.
Right.
Nice finish from Udo. And, you make a point about the other tournament, right? These guys would preferring to play in the NCAA tournament as Ejim knocks it down in her patented mid-range. But the reality is these two teams won their regular season conference. You could make the case that these teams are better than teams that are in that tournament.
Absolutely. And had they gone to the NCAA tournament, they would have been a very tough first-round matchup for anybody.
Jenkins lost her steps. Good hands from Dalton and Ejim collecting.
If you are playing against athletes and talented individual players like Jenkins or like Ejim, it is not one-on-one matchups that you want to create. You want to make sure that you are guarding that player as a team. So it should be 1-on-5. So yes, Ejim was guarding her 1-on-1, but you saw Dalton kind of dig down, bother her, and help force that turnover.
Turner open in the corner. De Leon finds Jenkins. But Gonzaga able to recover.
You can feel the energy, kind of that anxious atmosphere. I think a lot of Zag fans in the kennel tonight are hoping that Allie Turner gets 1 3, maybe 2, maybe more. So you have to wonder if that's playing on her a little bit, on her rushing, her tempo, on her threes. But they're all good looks as you see Ejim get that steal. She has to keep shooting them.
O'Connor steps through, blocked by Udo. Now up ahead to Jenkins. Too strong. Poked away by Ejim, and back the other way we go.
If you're O'Connor, if you're going to go in transition, you have to go off 2 feet, take that contact against a smaller De La Grande, but great job by the Zags of getting back.
And now with the shot clock and game clock separated by about 3 seconds, De Leon Negron slows it down, and we'll look for the final shot of the half. Zags up 7. Roadrunners trying to cut into it. Action for Jenkins, and Ejim rips it away. 5 ticks, chance to get a shot up. And she does in time. Yvonne Ejim makes it 15 for the Player of the Year finalist.
That's not even the first time tonight that we've seen her make a defensive play and then lead the break and then do some sort of very athletic finish. Look at her here. Hard plant on the right, into your left, keeps it close like a football player, uses that left, great touch. That's a great look going into halftime if you're a Zag fan. If you're UTSA, you need to reevaluate your offensive flow and come out in the second half.
Yvonne Ejim doesn't want the loss to Oregon State to be the last taste of her college career. Zags lead 36-27 as we head to the half. Getting the pressure back for GU, and Ejim, 17 points. She's always there, and she's dominant.
We were just talking about how it feels like if the Zags have a little bit of offensive flow, that is just not what they want to see offensively. Ejim just is capable of getting them a bucket and just settling her team down. I think it was a great adjustment change by Coach Fortier and her staff by throwing on a full court press of their own, just to not necessarily trap, although they did get some turnovers by having the runners come right across half court and trapping them, but just to slow the tempo down. I think the Zags are capable of playing at a fast pace. I think the runners are a little bit better at it.
Yeah.
So it was great to see them make that adjustment. However, Karen Aston and her squad, they are also very good coaching staff, and they're going to make some adjustments in the second half.
That's the fun thing about the postseason is there's only good teams left, and there's confident teams that know how to win basketball games. Right. And so we're not done yet. This will be a fun second half of play. Speaking of other good teams playing their first half in this tournament, Colorado's the real one you want to look at on the top right, because the winner of that game is who the winner of this game will play in the second round of the WBIT. Now, if Colorado wins, and they're dominating right now, 25-9, they will host Gonzaga or UTSA. If Colorado was to lose, Gonzaga would actually host if they're the one that wins in this game. So still a lot left. We'll keep you posted as those scores get closer to conclusion. But a good start to the WBIT in just the second year of this tournament, kind of taking place for the old NIT. And again, like you said before, Shaq, this is the best teams that didn't make the tournament and some of the best teams even in the country getting a chance to prove themselves here tonight.
Right, exactly. That's a lot of these teams are one win away from finding themselves in the NCAA tournament. But like you said, looking at that Colorado, Southeast Louisiana team, or that game, excuse me, fun little plug here. The head coach of Colorado, J.R. Payne, she is a former Zag. She was on staff here with Coach Kelly Graves, so it will be a nice welcome if she is able to host the Zags, but we will just have to see. We have 20 more minutes to play.
Yeah, it feels like an eternity left in this one, but the Zags lead by 9. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll show you some highlights from the first half and get you ready for the second half of action. Zags lead 36-27. The top team in the WCC against the top team from the AAC matching up. As we head to the highlights, it's a little bit of a role reversal. The Roadrunners dominant to start the game, but it was 3-pointers. They only shoot 29% on the season, but De Leon Negron got them started, and they were hot to begin.
I wouldn't say this is a identity for this Runners program, but they came out, were shooting confidently. You see little losing where all-star Jenkins is in the corner. However, the Zags turned up their defense, able to force a couple turnovers, which again, a little bit of a role reversal. The runners are known to come and apply that pressure.
Yeah, no surprise. Ejim was hot, 17 points in the first half, just leading by example. But again, it was the pressure that led to offense, and every time Gonzaga got stops, the Roadrunners couldn't apply their press.
Yeah, definitely, and she was scoring in a multitude of ways. You saw her get a hand on a ball defensively and lead the break. You see her in the mid-range there, which I think she's definitely improved in her last year here at Gonzaga. But then you have to also battle with Jenkins on the other side. She's capable of scoring in a multitude of ways as well. So this is going to be a really fun second half of basketball.
Jenkins with only 6 points on a couple of those threes we saw. Udo was not going away quietly and kept battling. And then this steal with 5 ticks, you can see on the board, Ejim goes coast to coast for the deuce.
John, do you think if there's 5 seconds left that you can get from one block down to the other?
I think
score?
I can, as much as I can pull off that hat right there with the Zags lighting up. I love it. Fun half of play set up and ready to go for the second half. But interesting to think about, Shaniqua, what is it with this style of play for who's going to impose their will? When we looked at the three-point percentages on the season, 29% for UTSA, 37% for Gonzaga. You would say that's a definite advantage. But in this game, UTSA is 4 for 15, Gonzaga only 3 for 15. So defense and threes were going to be real important. We've seen defense come through, but the threes hasn't played out like we expected.
Yeah, I think both teams have made some great adjustments there and are trying to, there's a balance, I think, in postseason play of staying true to what you do defensively and offensively, but also being prepared enough and having enough trust and chemistry within your team and your staff to make adjustments at a split moment's notice, not just at halftime, but can I audible to you and you go out there and make those adjustments. And I think Gonzaga exposed UTSA a little bit in the first half, but again, Karen Aston is an incredible coach. She's coming from Texas. She knows how to win. She's talking to her team now about adjustments that need to be made from there and on both sides of the ball as well.
First 4 or 5 minutes, before that first TV timeout, critical part of this game. I think either team that comes and dominates that will have a good chance to take this one home in the second half. Minutes away from the second half, the Zags and the Roadrunners ready to play. Welcome back to Spokane, Washington, where the Roadrunners are taking on the Bulldogs. And at half, we've got some highlights or some stats that we were highlighting early on before the game. It was threes, it was turnovers, it was rebounds. Shaniqua, they don't really say anything here. I mean, it's amazing the way the runs happen, and then it pretty much balanced out.
Yeah, it seems like a first half wash in those 3 key categories, but I think the difference is GU has 11 points off of those turnovers they forced and also 16 paint points, and that's just enough to give them this edge at halftime. But again, I am just a firm believer in coaching staffs at this point in their season being able to make some quality adjustments. So this is a battle of coaching staffs and also a battle of Jenkins and Ejim going down to the wire. Ejim won that matchup, I would say, in that first half. She has 17 points, 7 for 8 from the field goal. Jenkins only has 6. I think the Zags have thrown a lot of different defensive looks at her and made it tough. Look to the Roadrunners to get her involved. They want her touching the ball every possession. What
would you do? Is it just a matter of getting in better rhythm, or are there adjustments that you would make if you were Coach Aston to get Jenkins a little more involved?
I would like to see her in some more ball screen actions, maybe cause some switches. She's a solid, bigger athlete, so if she gets switched onto the likes of Allie Turner, she's capable of going one-on-one from the block or in the mid-post. She's also capable of rolling and getting position as well and just occupying the defense to open up some other options as well. But I think she needs to be touching the ball multiple times in a possession, and there were some offensive plays where she didn't see the ball at all for the Roadrunners.
No real foul trouble for Gonzaga. A few players with just a single foul. A couple of the starters for the Roadrunners with 2 to their name. Udo and Allen, both with a couple. Love and Udo with 2 fouls, something to keep on inside. As the kennel's starting to ramp up here. There is a different vibe about basketball in March, right? And both of these teams were really disappointed a week ago when they lost. in their conference tournaments. And I think both were grieving for a couple days, but in talking to coaching staffs, a few days were nice to just kind of recollect. And now all of a sudden you're thinking, well, I wanted this to keep going. These are my friends. I enjoy. You see a couple seniors right there. They don't want this season to end.
Absolutely. There was some disappointment there, but there were some teams that knew their season was done at the end of February. So even though you didn't make it into the NCAA tournament, I think both these teams knew that they would be playing postseason in some capacity. So you can either pout and be disappointed, or you can show up to play on a night like tonight and battle to keep your season alive.
Well, Gonzaga with the pressure, as we thought, Roadrunners trying to get Jordan Jenkins involved immediately, but the turnover forced by GU. O'Connor. Ivins had a hot hand to start the first half of play.
Very interesting. The Roadrunners trying to get Jenkins involved. You see the Zags running an action that gets Turner open with a little hammer screen, flare action, trying to get her a three-pointed look as well.
Dalton with shot clock running down.
Strong take there by Dalton on the other end to realize that the shot clock was counting down to get that ball up. Nice soft finish.
De Leon able to kick it off. Left side, Udo. Ivins, the defensive play, and then grabs the rebound. Allie Turner had the save. Looks up ahead. Ejim. We said that a lot this year. Turner to Ejim for the two. Love coming the other way in transition. Jenkins thought about the three. We saw her hit one from the top of the key in the first half. Now she'll try one from the angle. Still alive. Looked like it was last touched off the feet of Allie Turner.
I think the Bulldogs got lucky there. There's a ball screen action. They iced it. As you see, Ejim running hard in transition. Great pass by Turner. Easy finish at the rim.
Udo dumps it off to Sydney Love. Steps through for the glass. Love, from an athletic family, has 4 siblings, all played collegiate sports, either soccer or basketball. A lot of backyard hoops and games, I'd imagine, at the Love household.
Check in with her parents and see how the competitive edge was at the dinner table.
I'm guessing they bought a lot of Band-Aids. Yeah. O'Connor, good job getting to her spot, found her own board. Everybody blocked out, but nobody grabbed the ball. In the end, Love grabs this one. Negron on the skip. Off the back iron, rolled off, last touch by Ejim.
Two really good rebounding teams. I just think we're missing the last part of our block out on both ends for both programs of securing the ball.
As we'll go the other way, Dalton never afraid of contact and earns the foul.
Really tough guard for the Zags, trying to fight her way over the top of that Udo screen. It looked like Udo wasn't quite set, was still kind of moving.
And that's big. That'll be the 3rd personal foul on Idara Udo. So Lowe back into the game for her. Now Gonzaga in the transition, able to beat the pressure. Can they find an easy bucket? Roadrunners get back in numbers. Last touched off Maya Linton. Stay here. So Cheyenne Rose going to be called upon for a little bit more action with Udo's foul trouble as Jenkins comes away with that one. Here's Allen on the drive. Love. Last touch by Hivins.
That foul was on Hivins, but Dalton, frustrated, imploring her team to sprint back and be aware of where the ball is. Great job by Love of getting that turnover, pushing the ball in transition. And if your back is turned as the ball is coming up the floor, you're not aware of your help side rotations, and that's where the Zags got tripped up there, and it ends up in a foul, sending Love to the line.
Sydney Love, 78% from the line on the season, so a rare miss for her. Dalton stepping up as a leader for Gonzaga. She maybe wasn't a leader at the start of the season as a grad transfer, being kind of the newbie, but she's never really played in the postseason, coming from a program at St. Mary's that wasn't seeing a lot of March action, so wanting to take full advantage of her first opportunity.
Yeah, I think she was a newbie, so just kind of settling into what being a Zag was all about, but you see that was a great pass. Hybens has to finish that. Those are great opportunities that you have to take advantage of. But also on Dalton, she was a very important piece for that St. Mary's program and known as a vocal leader, and also somebody who leads with her toughness and leading by example as well. So now that she's back in the lineup and more comfortable playing a bigger role on the court, I know she's also had a major impact as one of those veteran leaders for the Zags.
Love able to get it into Jenkins. Holds off Little. Back to Love. I think Little got a piece of it. The Ipswich native with an instant impact on defense. Turner for her first free, and that ties the three-point record for Gonzaga. And maybe that'll take the lid off the hoop for her. Jenkins trying to respond. Good defense from Little not to foul. Ejim running the break. Had to scamper through, lost her touch. Just tried to save it and pass it at the same time.
Great job by Allie Turner of just not getting shy. Feet set, yes, it's deep, that's her range, but she hasn't hit one all night, and to still not lose your edge, your confidence, that's really difficult to do, and especially as a freshman. It was only a matter of time before she broke that record, to be honest. I knew she wasn't going to go 0 for tonight. She's too good of a shooter.
She was 0 for 5 in the first half, so now 1 on the board, and like a good shooter, she probably feels like she's on fire now.
My dad, the great Coach Jamie Nellis would always say, shooters shoot. They do not get trigger shy from there.
Oh, Ejim able to sneak around the side for the steal, but too much contact. And she'll pick up her first personal.
I will say, though, for Yvonne Ejim to get through this first half without a foul and that to be her first one, that's a great sign for the Zags. If I'm the Roadrunners, I want to go at her a little bit more defensively, tire her out for her offensive efficiency, but also potentially get her in foul trouble, just like Udo is for them right now.
Yeah, especially because she's guarding the other team's best player.
Yes.
It's not like she's just being hidden under there. And still working on the offensive glass. Ball down, collected by Rowe. And we got a jump ball, possession arrow over to Gonzaga.
Seemed like there was a lot of contact down low. That was similar to what we just saw on the other end. But this is March basketball. Everybody has to up that physicality, match it, exceed it. Fouls will be called, some fouls won't, and you just have to show up each possession and just battle.
Taylor Ross checking into the game. We have some discussion about the substitutions here and who that was last called. That wasn't a foul, it was just a jump ball. Little look for Ejim as Salenbein gets knocked to her backside. Just 2 on the shot clock. Salenbein recognizes it and draws the foul. Best case scenario there for GU. And tough for UTSA after a great defensive possession.
Yeah, they had the Zags in a weird flow offensively. They weren't able to get anything kind of inside that perimeter. Bree Salenbein able to get the ball from Turner, just rip left to right, attack the basket, knows how much time is on the clock so doesn't get stuck with the ball in her hands at the free throw line.
Redshirt junior, a little off. We wondered if there'd be UTSA fans in the crowd here as a predominantly Gonzaga fan base. There was a scream during the last free throw. I think that answers that question for us. There's a few Roadrunner fans out there.
There's only so much you could do as a fan to potentially have an impact on a game. So I appreciate somebody using their voice.
And that's almost harder to shoot than a big screaming crowd that just sort of drowns themselves out.
Yeah.
Single voice is one you hear in a quiet crowd. Roadrunners able to beat the pressure, but now 10 seconds off the shot clock before UTSA gets into their action. Here's Jordan Jenkins. Grinding her way around the corner. Soundbite able to poke it free. Now Gonzaga in transition. Dalton smartly pulls it out. Betancourt. Hybens kept it alive. Ross able to come away with it, and Love. Going to her left and then back to the right. Nice finish.
She has that ball on a string, and I feel like she does a great job as a point guard, as a ball handler, of not getting sped up. She's very under control, stays on balance.
Good ball movement for Gonzaga. Finds Hybens at the high post, too strong. And that'll be the foul over the back from Bree Salenbein. So a little bit of back and forth. Gonzaga extends the lead to 12 with 4:19 left to go. We'll take a quick break, be back to finish the third quarter. .419 left to go in the third quarter. Rebounding, a real theme in this matchup with two teams that are in the top 10 in rebounding margin in the entire country, and partway through, we're tied in rebounds.
Yeah, you see it there, battle on the boards. GU tonight is a +4 on the defensive rebounds, 19-15, while UTSA is at +4 on the offensive rebounds, 8-4.
Steal for Gonzaga, corralled by Cristobal Osorobo in her first minutes of the game. The Spaniard able to come on and get her hands on the ball. Length from Gonzaga bothering UTSA. A beautiful look from Ejim to Betancourt, and she couldn't finish.
Great little play call coming out of the break. Get a good look. Those are the ones that you need. I think Betancourt slowed down a little bit. Even if you're wide open, I'm imploring my 12-year-old daughter right now of finish full speed.
Coach Nillis coming out over here. She did. She slowed down, left
just
it short.
a little bit. I think it messes up your timing, your rhythm.
A little breather here for Ejim. For Gonzaga. Can UTSA take advantage of it? Rowe still battling. And she earns a spot at the line. Cheyenne Rowe out of Ajax, Ontario.
Very active on the boards, just doesn't give up. If you're the Zags, the name of, or I should say one of your defensive strategies has to be one and done. UTSA gets one offensive look, and then you need to block out all 5 positions. UTSA actually doesn't send anybody back as a safety to stop defensive transitions. They really lead on their athleticism to have all 5 people crashing the glass.
Rowe able to knock down the second and cut the lead down to 11. UTSA now in the bonus the rest of the way through the quarter. Betancourt caught in the corner. Ejim able to bail her out. Now a chance to score on the break. Hybens off the pass from Salenbein.
UTSA's presses just have not been as effective because the Zags are inbounding it to their point guards, but then Ejim is just getting it right back, and she's able and capable of leading that offensive break for them.
Jenkins on the response. Off to Ross. And a nice free throw line jumper. Jordan Jenkins playing close to home. She's from Seattle area. Kent Ridge High School is where she came from. So you know she's got some family and friends in attendance tonight. She transferred from USC before going over to Texas. So back closer to home for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, their SID was saying that they scheduled against Seattle U, but Jenkins was actually injured, so she was unable to play. in that game. So nice for some of her family to be able to see her a little bit closer to home, as you said.
Good round of applause for the subs for Gonzaga. As Osa Robo with a nice little effort there coming in, her length showing in that pressure and buying some key rest minutes for some of the starting Zags. A couple of changes will give Jordan Jenkins a break for UTSA as well. So Hammonds, Ross, De Leon Negron, Linton, and Love on for the Roadrunners. It wasn't pretty, but Gonzaga broke the pressure there. Here's Turner. O'Connor. And suffocating defense. Credit that one to Maya Linton forcing the missed pass.
And you could kind of feel that possession for the Zags, which is a little bit disjointed. Have to keep your composure against a team that brings a lot of defensive pressure and intensity.
Sydney Love on the drive, and Hybens couldn't resist. Reached down, broke the verticality, and picks up the foul. Her third personal. And just on cue, that'll bring Little back into the game.
I know we have a minute 47 left in the third, but Hybens picking up her third there on something kind of silly. I think she was there with her feet. If she just keeps her hands straight up, that's a really tough finish for Love. And if she does finish, that's fine. You tip your hat to players that are crafty enough to finish over tall bigs like Hybens. But sending her to the line, yes, she missed the first one, but if you're the Gonzaga coaching staff, you're more concerned with the fact that now you have to take Hybens out due to that foul.
Love it. Nearly 80% free throw shooter on the season. Is 1 for 3 from the line tonight. Now 50%. Turnovers. Turnovers. It's been a season theme for Gonzaga.
That's why UTSA's press, it just kind of gets into your head a little bit. The double team actually didn't come right away, which is when you want to give it right back to Ejim to reverse the ball or bring it up herself. Dalton just got caught assuming, anticipating, and unfortunately throws it right in between Ejim's legs.
De Leon Negron with a magic trick to get that ball up in the trees, but couldn't put it in. Allie Turner calling out the play. Off to one of the finalists for the college all-star game coming up at the end of the season, Ejim. And if you haven't watched her play, it doesn't take long to realize why.
Just dominant.
Hammonds got away with a couple steps on the drive. Little was right there.
Great discipline there by Little.
Gonzaga looking to extend as Turner off strong. Little with the board, throws it through De Leon Negron's legs on the outlet pass.
Has a little bit of a smirk. I don't know if that was an intentional nutmeg, but worked out in the Zags' favor.
See if the Globetrotters come to England next time. She might be signing up. And a foul on the pick and roll for Love, her third personal. We haven't seen Idara Udo with 3 fouls to her name in a long time, and I think that foul trouble just changing up a little bit of the substitution pattern for Coach Aston.
You see Jenkins getting subbed in as well for these final 35 seconds, hoping to get her going.
Allie Turner trying to make an impact on a night she's had a tough day shooting, and off the mark there. Remember, she tied the record for single season threes early on this game, early in the second half. She needs one more to hold that record by herself, and you know she wants it.
Just not a great shot at that time. I definitely think she's capable of a between-the-legs step back. We've seen it before in the kennel, but I just think now you've given the Roadrunners a chance to have the last shot.
UTSA Robo putting the pressure on Sydney Love. Less than a second differential between shot clock and game clock. Love gets the pick from Jenkins. Little pick and pop. Jenkins able to get the ball, but forced off of her shooting position, and in the end, Gonzaga bails out the crafty veteran. And Jenkins, who makes a lot of her money at the line, 81%, will head back there. She's made 121 free throws on the season. A comfortable spot for her.
A little bit of a slow night for Jenkins, 2 for 10 from the field. So hopefully ending this third quarter with a couple of free throws, seeing the ball go through the basket, gives her a little bit of confidence, calms her down a little bit offensively heading into the fourth.
And you can bet UTSA will be applying the pressure after a make here. But Jenkins can't make it. Ejim clears, pushing it ahead, and O'Connor won't get it off in time. So UTSA keeps it close, down 11, but within striking distance as the final 10 minutes on the clock. We'll be right back for the WBIT fourth quarter. Spike the Bulldogs sitting outside of McCarthy Athletic Center on a drizzly evening here in Spokane. Good time to be in the kennel where it's nice and warm. Gonzaga heating up in that third quarter of play. UTSA trying to cut the deficit down to single digits. Could do so with a bucket here. Bright green shoes of Jordan Jenkins on the turn, flips it up left hand. Salenbein read it, picked it off the baseline. O'Connor picked it up, not where she wanted to. Jenkins still pressing. Ejim there, they got to get it over. And that's a 10-second violation.
If you're O'Connor, you're a guard, so you have to be comfortable of at least getting the break started across half court. Picks it up, looking to throw back to Ejim, which is your read when UTSA is applying that 1-2-1-1 full court press. But when it's one-on-one and you're a guard, I implore you, you have to be able to handle that and get it across half court. Unfortunately, it ends up in another turnover for the Zags.
Can the Roadrunners take advantage of it? Sydney Love, a few three-pointers for them in the first half. Almost nothing in the second half as Ejim and Jenkins battle underneath. Now Udo, who is back into the game, looking to establish position. Jenkins dumps it off to De Leon Negron. Kick far side, Love short. See the press though, not just off of a make, they're pressing off of a miss too. Gonzaga.
You can see UTSA has kind of ramped up their on-ball defense. Guards are fighting over, trying to apply a lot of pressure.
Salenbein's height able to throw over the top, and O'Connor makes her mark from the corner.
And that's big because I thought UTSA did a great job of handling that offensive flow.
And a quick response, Sydney Love back to the line.
You're exactly right, quick response. Make or miss, UTSA, they don't care about what the score says. They're trying to get it and go. Udo does a great job. As you see here with the Zags, a little hammer screen, flare action. O'Connor knocks that down. But then look at the pace here. Jogging back, assuming that the ball is just going to be walked up. That is not the Road Runner way. They push it even on made baskets. Udo does a great job of sealing off Dalen. Love attacks. Dalen pops out late. It's fouls. It's an and one.
A fitting mascot, right?
Yes, exactly.
a road runner.
Exactly.
I promise I'm not going to do a Wile E. Coyote impression here.
I feel like we need
I
the
want to,
sign,
but I'm not
right?
going to. Yeah.
With the Acme logo.
That's exactly the cloud of dust. Here's Allie Turner. Good skip pass to Salenbein. Right past Udo. Had the up and under. Couldn't. Just lost control of the ball. Udo down on the ground, battling for it. And credit the sophomore at UTSA from earning possession back. It will go to Gonzaga on the jump ball. Always feel like that's tough when you've Made such a great defensive play. You don't get the ball. I know it'll come back to him next time around, but Udo deserves some credit there. Udo with the 3 fouls, hasn't gotten to play as much in this half. Now back in, and you can bet while sitting on the bench, you wanted to get in and make her name in this. Turner with Linton all over. Ejim, top of the key, and I think the foul before the shot. Little pushed as she tried to hold the screen. That'll be Udo's 4th. Gonzaga not in the bonus in the 4th quarter here. So an extended defensive possession and a decision to make for Coach Karen Aston. She does not take Udo out of the game. And immediately Ejim goes right at her. Some contact, but no foul. Ejim pointing to her elbow as if she was touched. When one of the Player of the Year candidates for the entire nation airballs it, she's got a case to be made. Maybe she was.
Yeah, I would say when she pulls Udo out into that mid-post area, she needs to use her speed, her athleticism, trying to get to the rim, making Udo guard her laterally, especially with those 4 fouls. Great job by Udo there. No foul call. We go the other way.
Jenkins into Udo. And quickly snatched up by an alert Little. Dalton able to spin around the pressure. Finds Ejim. And the highlight of the night, just missed.
That's the 3rd wide open layup that the Zags have missed. 6 points would extend this lead to 17 points, so don't get complacent. 7 minutes is a lot of time, especially against a great UTSA program.
O'Connor, she loves that spot in the corner. It hit every part of the rim, but no net. Gonzaga has UTSA on the ropes, but unable to put the knockout punch yet. Dalton, another pick from her. Just looking at the numbers for the night, she's got to have at least 3 or 4 steals. She's been incredible, and some of the time it's not a steal, it's been a forced foul or a turnover that she's created. As we take a look at that, wow.
You're right, every part of that rim.
Wow.
And it just burps out. A little bit of a frustration foul there, I think, from Jenkins. She was wanting that post up. Her teammate was late to give it to her.
Just one recorded steal on the night for Dalton, but she's done so much more than that.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of deflections. Deflections aren't an official stat. I wish they were.
Usually the teams keep them,
yeah,
right? The
definitely.
people that know are tracking that on the sideline.
If you know, you know how important deflections are to your defensive schemes.
Allie Turner looking for Ejim, where Gonzaga is going to keep on pressuring with 4 fouls on Udo. Her pass this time, Hybens, too strong. And a little loss of concentration. Looking up ahead was Maya Linton. And that kind of night for Linton. She had a 3 early on, but hasn't had much since.
Looking up the floor, trying to start the break, just kind of fumbled it out of bounds.
Do you just keep going to Ejim with Udo with those 4 personal fouls?
I think so, but I don't want you to go at her right away. Let the defense work a little bit, then hit her with about 15, 10 seconds. Because everybody's geared up waiting for it. So you see there's a lot of attention on Ejim. Turner's capable of coming off for a little pull-up. It allows the offense to be a little bit more dynamic.
And the lead extends to 13. 6 minutes, plenty of time, but starting to get to crunch time here for the Roadrunners. Jenkins off the rub at the high post, down in and under. And Jordan Jenkins picks up her 9th point of the night. Little able to get it off to Dalton just right as the New Zealander got across the half-court line, and that 3-pointer makes Allie Turner the all-time single-season record holder for 3-pointers made for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. And with a timeout to celebrate it in front of the home crowd, we'll take a break as Gonzaga lead is up to 14. The Gonzaga lead is now 14 thanks to this 3-pointer that made Allie Turner the single-season record holder for number of threes in a single year with 97.
And timely, the Zags needed that to fall. But she is a great shooter, and the greatest of shooters have short memory. She hasn't shot well from the perimeter tonight, but doesn't hesitate, able to get herself in the record books with that one.
Shaniqua, there are three-point shooters that can hit it off the pass. There's some that have to dribble into it. She can hit it both ways.
And range doesn't matter. She shoots it with confidence no matter where she's at.
Nice pass as Jenkins gets the deuce and goes to the line. Sydney Love with the assist.
And UTSA needed that coming out of a timeout. Great play call there by the Roadrunner staff, trying to get Jenkins the ball. Strong finish, absorbs that contact from Ejim.
You mentioned it in the first half. There was a moment of the game where you could start to feel the crowd. A little bit of like, where is this going? If Gonzaga allows this lead to slip a little bit, there's going to be some tension in this McCarthy Athletic Center. UTSA just trying to stay within striking distance now with 5 minutes left on the clock. Betancourt to Hybens, who we haven't seen in a while. Wide open underneath. Betancourt missed her. Now back into Hybens in the post. Jenkins crashed down. Sliding to it was Linton, and I think she slid out of bounds. Can't fault the effort. Nice play from Maya Linton, but not quite enough. And we'll take another break here under 5 minutes. So UTSA staying within striking distance. The lead is 11. Gonzaga at home trying to advance to the second round of the WBIT. Likely to face Colorado. Colorado right now taking on southeastern Louisiana, and then they're up 25 in the fourth quarter. So Colorado's going to host the second round game for the winner of this one. 6 seconds on the shot clock. Ejim's the player you want to have it in her hands, and she shows why.
Tough spot having the ball that low on the sideline. Zag's able to get it in, handle that UTSA pressure. Ejim gets them another bucket.
Jenkins near side as Hammonds loses control, but it finds its way to Rowe. Hammonds has to put up the three. Good stroke, but too strong. Betancourt, a little touch pass to Salenbein in the corner. Hybens has great positions. Ejim says, we don't need to force it.
It's been a couple times where Hyben has lost possession of the ball. Not a complete turnover, but I do think if you're a post, you need to be focused on possession over position. As you see, Hybens does ultimately end up causing a turnover there.
Her height has been a difference maker in this one, and now up ahead, Betancourt. And Gonzaga's lead is 15.
The Zags haven't taken care of the ball tremendously well. I think if you're on the coaching staff, you would like to see those be limited even more. However, I will say I think they've done a great job of not pouting and being able to get the ball back.
Jenkins is going to go to the line. I think Betancourt got the last touch. You know, while Gonzaga's had a tough time with the turnovers on their end, they forced so many turnovers. They've really nullified that. The number right now is 16-17. So for a stat that we thought was going to be lopsided towards UTSA, basically for Gonzaga to be close in that number is a total win.
Yeah. What's going to hurt you down the stretch is if you're putting players like Jenkins on the line at this stage. It stops the clock, gives everybody a breather. So if you're playing against a team that wants to pressure you, you don't want to give them breaks to catch their breath, get a second wind, and then apply even more pressure the next time down defensively. So keep your hands to yourself. You want to keep them off the line going forward.
Ejim surveying, finds Hybens as the outlet. And like we've seen most of the night, it's been Ejim who's running the press break. Betancourt, a little bump. And that will be the fourth, well, just the third team foul for UTSA. But I think it's number 5 on Idara Udo.
And she just was subbed in during Jenkins' free throws on the other end. So if you're on the Roadrunners bench, you're a little bit frustrated with her picking up her 5th so far from the basket. She's hiding behind high bins. The Zags are trying to break the press, a little bit out of control, and that's a tough position for any post player to have to stop your opposing point guard coming up full speed on the sideline.
Not the first time she's fouled out on the season, but the Plano, Texas native is done for the night. So the top offensive rebounder in the league is not going to be on the court to help them with a comeback. Dalton trying to provide the nail in the coffin. And this will be possession arrow back to Roadrunners. Some laughs from her teammates there about, I don't know if it was the miss or what happened afterward.
I think it was Hyben sitting on the basketball during that scrum of the basketball.
She's still laughing as she goes to the bench. Easy to smile and laugh when you're up 13 here, but Coach Lisa Fortier not laughing yet. Sure, she's eager to close this thing out.
And again, you don't want to stop the play with silly fouls. Just be disciplined defensively. If you're UTSA, you got to go. You have last 2:44 here to make a push. They've just struggled from behind the perimeter to get threes to fall. And their press just hasn't also been as effective as they've seen against other opponents this season.
Gonzaga struggled with it the first 5 minutes of the game, and once they figured it out, it's been a game changer. Little with a dangerous pass, but not having to pay for it.
You see UTSA, they're kind of starting to send 2 on the ball, just causing a little bit of chaos, hoping to get turnovers from the Zags.
Allie Turner, wide open, a little pop to the face of Ross. Ejim gets to her own rebound and will go to the line. Ross caught an errant hand to the face after the bump on Turner. And Ejim just kind of cleaned up the mess there. For Yvonne Ejim, 23 points on the night, 15 rebounds, 2 assists. Just a classic night for her. There's the screams again. What a night for Yvonne Ejim, who the look on her face after the Oregon State loss was tough, right?
Devastating.
Instantly
yeah.
Tears. Not the way she wanted. She didn't have to come back this year. Right. She wanted to make a run. And for her, this is going to mean a lot to bounce back, have a great performance tonight, and keep her team alive in the WBIT.
Absolutely.
De Leon Negron in her last game as a collegiate basketball player. Dalton skips out to Allie Turner, who may have stepped on the line. Her heel was right there. Pressure from Linton is too much, and Turner is going to go to the line in the bonus.
Roadrunners are trying to extend this game a little bit. Look to them maybe to foul to stop the clock, but that means that offensively what you can't have is what you just saw where you turn it over against full court press from Gonzaga. You got to go and get quick buckets. If I'm Jenkins, I'm coming back to the ball and I'm being aggressive. I'm getting my head downhill. I'm trying to get to the rack, maybe get myself to the free throw line, causing some fouls on Gonzaga.
And Gonzaga, a little bit of pressure just to delay the attack from the Roadrunners. Love got bumped from behind, no call. Little has it taken away. Linton from the free throw line. And Little able to corral. Roadrunners still up and pressing. Down under 130. Gonzaga lost their senior night on this floor against San Francisco, so a great opportunity to make up for it as Turner extends her record. And that may be the last minutes of the game for her as substitutions looking to come back in for Gonzaga. So she goes out with an exclamation mark and up to 98 threes on the season, but she's not done yet. She'll be looking to hit that century mark in the next round.
Good things happen when you as a guard get yourself into the paint, kick out to Little. Great reversal, hits Turner right in her hands, catch and shoot. like you said, extending that record for herself.
All 3 of her threes tonight came off the pass, so showing the ability to be patient and wait, and credit to her teammates for finding her.
Yeah, ends up going 3 for 9, so improves that percentage a little bit as well.
Jenkins able to battle it out of the trap. Gonzaga's pressure still causing problems for UTSA, who earn a spot back to the line. Down under 1 minute here, a chance I think to give due to some fantastic players for these Roadrunners. Jordan Jenkins, an incredible career. Last year, actually 2 years ago, and then this year, Conference Player of the Year in the AAC. After transferring from USC, making Texas her home in San Antonio. One of the leaders in her conference in points, in rebounds, and leading this team. Not only that, but she's out pressing the whole game. She's defensively adding an element to this team, and a heck of a career for her.
Plays a lot of minutes. She had a little bit of a slow start in the first half of this game, but really started to exude dominance and give her team some extra possessions, defensive rebounds, offensive rebounds.
Foul called there on Sydney Love. That will be her last, so she will foul out with 15 points to her name. And for a good juncture of this game, she was the only one that was creating for the Roadrunners. Quality game for her, just couldn't get enough after a few early threes to stretch the court out and find space.
Very solid guard, doesn't get sped up, gets to her spots really, really well, has that ball on a string. Contributed 15 points tonight, but very timely buckets as well for that Roadrunners program.
Love just a junior, so for UTSA, they're going to lose Jordan Jenkins, they're going to lose Nina De Leon Negron, but other than that, they pretty much bring everybody back. So a lot to build upon for Karen Aston's squad after such a great season this year. Certainly, you know, when you lose the best player in the conference, like Gonzaga, those are going to be big shoes to fill. But you like the squad coming back for another year. Push on that rebound underneath. And we'll go all the way the other direction for Gonzaga shooting in the bonus. I think it was Little who's going to go to the line.
Yeah, they got Jenkins for a rebounding foul. I think she went to kind of use her hip to clear Little out. I couldn't really tell from this angle, but displaced her enough that the refs called a foul. Little goes to the line for the Zags.
26 wins on the season for the Roadrunners, a program record. Gonzaga with the victory will put 23 on the board for their season before they head to Colorado. Jenkins able to grab the board.
And like you said, John, this is a great UTSA program, a very, very impressive season for them. And a great job by the Zags of handling business on their home court, handling this pressure, staying poised and controlled. Had a great game plan and executed it well.
So Gonzaga is going to advance to the round of 16 and find their way to survive and advance, as they take down the Roadrunners of UTSA with a final score 67-51. Gonzaga led, of course, by Yvonne Ejim with 24 points. Turner put in 13, but Hybens with 11, Dalton with 9, and an excellent game on both ends of the floor for Dalton. Gonzaga able to survive the pressure that UTSA applied and get back to their winning ways. UTSA wraps up the season with one of the best seasons in program history, something to build upon, and ought to hold their chins up plenty high.
And no surprise here, Yvonne Ejim, player of the game. You see those stats there, 24 points, 10 of 15 from the floor, and 16 rebounds. Just a dominant walking double-double. It's so impressive, the effort and energy she gives on both ends of the floor each night.
Both coaches told us before the game that likely the leader in rebounds at the end of this matchup would be the victor. And when you pull 16 down yourself, you're contributing pretty well to that effort.
That's a great chunk to start out with. Yes, definitely.
So Yvonne Ejim and company live to play another day. We talked just for a moment about UTSA and who's coming back. For Gonzaga, Hybens, Dalton, Ejim, Little, and probably Salenbein all gone. So the last hurrah for GU, and it stays alive. They get to play a few more days, and they're going to match up on Sunday. Time to be mentioned. It'll come out later, probably tonight or tomorrow, about that matchup against Colorado in the second round of the WBIT. Well, for myself, John Billings, and for Shanika Nillis and our wonderful crew here led by Stephen Carr, thanks for joining us for the postseason as Gonzaga advances to the second round. UTSA puts a bow on their season, and the WBIT in March rolls along.
Thank you for attending tonight's first round game. Our final score is Zag 67 and the Roadrunners 51. Congratulations, Gonzaga. With tonight's victory, the Gonzaga Bulldogs